Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Phoenix and Phoenix Raceway for what obviously will be an exciting weekend for many levels of series here. Looking forward to tonight with the Toyota NASCAR Mexico Series race and obviously our qualifying start today as well. So we're going to kick off with some special guests. On the far right is Steve O'Donnell, who is here not only as Executive Vice President for NASCAR, but also serves on the board of the Armed Forces Foundation, the AFF. Next to him is Patricia Driscoll, who is the President and Executive Director of the AFF. And on her left is Mr. Kurt Busch, the driver of the number 41 Haas Automation Group car. He will be racing here this weekend, and he's got a special announcement and talk about some of the work that he's doing. But before we get going, I actually thought it'd be good for Steve to talk about the work that Kurt and Patricia have done with the AFF and in association with us at NASCAR.
Thanks, David. And I've had the privilege of working directly with Patricia and Kurt with the Armed Forces Foundation, particularly the Troops to the Track program, which has been a huge success for our entire industry. I think all of you are familiar with that program. It's something near and dear to our hearts, giving back to the soldiers who obviously have sacrificed for our country, and not only those soldiers, but veterans involved in war as well. And Patricia's here and Kurt to make a really exciting announcement. Patricia as the president of the AFF, has really worked tirelessly on this foundation, and it's incredible to see the work that she's done without candidly a ton of resources, and really just gone after it. And Kurt's here to talk about a really exciting announcement where we can talk and showcase one of our drivers, particularly in what they're doing for the military, in support of the military. It aligns perfectly with what we want to do going forward. NASCAR and our armed forces are closely tied. So again, I'm really proud to be a board member. I'm really proud to look to the future and see what NASCAR can contribute as a whole to the foundation. And with that, I want to turn it over to Patricia to give you a little more background on today's announcement.
So one of the things that when Kurt and I went down to Texas, we talked with George Bush and his group down there about military charities wasting a lot of money. And something that we're proud of is that 95 cents of every dollar goes to our programs. And we've always been one of the highlight charities for President Bush, even when he was still in office. So his new campaign is to actually reduce the waste in charities. And one of the ways that charities waste a lot of money is actually being compliant with the government. It costs about $20,000 a year to register in the states, all the states, to make sure you're compliant, don't get any fines. That's a lot of money to be wasted that could go to somebody else. And when all of these drivers start to have their own charities, you can imagine how much money is just going out of this garage into the government's pocket instead of to those who need it. So we'd come up with an idea that we start to get some of our celebrity talent. What we do best is we run the foundation. We're grassroots. We have a great team, great organization. We're actually getting the job done. There's no reason to spend all this money on these administrative fees when we could all just join teams together. So we started to reach out to our athletes and ask them, would you shut your foundation down? And this is an attempt to let us do our jobs best, let them participate in all the activities they were doing already anyway, and reduce the staff costs, and then ultimately reduce the administrative costs to make us even more efficient. So, one veteran every 65 minutes commits suicide. We have more than 600,000 vets suffering from PTSD. And when we talk about veterans suffering from PTSD, you have to remember it's their families too. It's not just the veterans. So there's a lot of people affected here. And our partnership with NASCAR is really important to us because this allows us in every single community to bring that message out, that we bring wounded troops from the area and we talk about them here so that we remind people in this community, wherever we are around the country, that these people are here and when we leave, you need to help continue to take care of them. So we wanted to turn it over to Kurt now and let him make his big announcement.
Well, today is a big day for me to be able to close and diffuse the Kurt Busch Foundation that I started 8 years ago, primarily focused around children and athletics and sport competition that drew youth programs together in many different facets. Our most successful campaign with the Kurt Busch Foundation was the Superdome at Victory Junction Gang Camp. It's a multi-purpose facility of over 28,000 square feet of indoor climate-controlled an arena, for lack of a better term, that allowed the kids to play sports year-round. And tying in with the Victory Junction Game Camp at the time was beneficial to help my foundation get its legs under it and to get things going. But as time progressed, you're starting to stretch yourself out to this program or to this next program, and it wasn't run as efficient as what I have seen with the Armed Forces Foundation. And of course, with going on Capitol Hill and seeing a bunch of the different programs and how they operate, and even over the years with some of my primary sponsors, working with different foundations and with their presidents and with their direction and motive, I can see how a lot of money can get lost and it's not directly affecting the people that we need it to affect. And so today I'd like to proudly diffuse the Kurt Busch Foundation into the Armed Forces Foundation. And we are creating a program within the Armed Forces Foundation called the Kurt Busch Project. And it also is a lead-in to have other athletes who are interested in starting their own foundations jump on board to a bigger program that runs with less fat and it runs more efficiently. So I guess the key today is to take away operating efficiently, and that's what the Armed Forces Foundation does, with 95 cents of every dollar going back to our military that need it. And so with my Kurt Busch project, it focuses around PTSD and TBI, which are heavily focused at Walter Reed and Bethesda medical centers, and being able to help those guys get through rehab, to get back up and healthy, and to be able to smile when they come to the Troops to the Track events, which we keep out there as motivation for them to get through rehab and get better. And while I'm diffusing it and setting aside the Kurt Busch Foundation, there was money left over from the years of operation. And so today I'm proud to present a check for $100,000 to the Armed Forces Foundation and to initiate the program, I guess what we can call with the different athletes. What was the terminology we had?
Athlete sponsor.
It's the Athlete Sponsor Project. And so, today we hope to have Ryan Boehner, mixed martial arts guy, here today, but he had a contract in Columbus, Ohio for a fight this weekend. But to have a mixed martial arts guy jump in with his donation today as well with $30,000 to kick in his program with the Armed Forces Foundation. It's a special day to try to create an initiative or a motive to have different athletes from all different branches of any type of entertainment to know that their money can be used effectively and directly to their programs at the Armed Forces Foundation. So thank you, Patricia, and thank you, Steve. Yeah, we'll bring the check on up.
Bring both, and since it's tall, we can just be right here.
This one first.
If you have any questions, just raise your hands and we'll get a microphone in there. So bring one back here to Mr. Creekmore.
Hey, Valerie, do you want to put both checks out there?
Hold on just a second, Stan.
And
Sure.
one more. Put them both up here. There we go. 2 checks.
All right, guys, right here again. Please. Thank you. Can you tilt that one down so they can get a little glare? Perfect. Okay, guys, right here. Smile. More, right back here. Careful, chopping these zeros off.
Go ahead, Stan.
I get to
You
cut those.
Okay, Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. This is for Kurt. Kurt, I've seen the intensity in you and what you have to do just to race. When you visit veterans who are trying to recover, what do you see in them that brought you to this point?
Well, there's so many different emotions that you see when you visit these men and women who are in the rehab centers, and there's 10 different stories that can come out of the same visit, and then you can meet another individual right next to that person that has a whole different set of emotions as well as an outlook. There's an amount of respect that I see right away, and then there's the troubled portion of their lives have changed forever, and some of them are angry. Some of them are, hey, we'll see how things progress. And then there's more emotions of, hey, I'm going to get through this, and if I can get better, I would ask to get redeployed. It's amazing the different amounts of emotion that come from visiting these guys and the different wounds that they have. I mean, there's some of them that you wouldn't know that have been hurt, and that's the PTSD side. That's the battle that is unseen. It's easy to see a burn victim, or it's easy to see somebody that has a limb that's been blown off by an IED. And those are the tough ones to try to approach because they know you see it right away. But there's the ones that have the invisible wounds from the TBI, the traumatic brain injury, and the PTSD side. And those are the ones you have to open up a little bit, spend more time with, and put your arm around them. And Patricia does a great job with her foundation to show them the way, to give them the support. And I'm not a certified counselor by any means, but with the Troops to the Track program that NASCAR allows us to bring quantities of our military men and women to the track, I can help with just putting a smile on their face or diverting their focus for the day to have some fun. And the program that we have is such as like at Kansas City, Fort Leavenworth. We try to grab troops from specific regions close to the racetracks. And we bring in different guys from different branches of the military to meet up with the guys that are there that day, and they all turn into their own buddy system. It's like their own travel buddy at the track for the weekend. And so I can get involved with pace car rides, can get them into the driver's meeting. We have them sit on our pit box as a guest of honor. And then we also have what is most important to me, the race dedication program. And I'm going into my third year with the race dedication program. And some weekends we have individuals that are there with us. Some weekends we have the families that are there because we're honoring a killed in action member. And it creates closure, it creates excitement, and it creates all different types of emotions when you're carrying around the name of a service member with you on the racetrack.
You know, a lot of people don't realize that with our Troops to the Track program, it's actually therapy. When you see our guys walking around the garage, this is not just a normal VIP group. You know, these guys usually are suffering from PTSD. And you can imagine how crowds affect people, the smell of gasoline and fuel, because the last time that they smelled those things and heard the loud engine noises and they hear the fireworks and the national anthem, all those things actually scare them, and it's associated with bad memories. But what we get to do here at NASCAR is bring a group together. They spend the whole day with guys who have similar experiences, so they get to spend the whole day talking, but they get to start living those sights, smells, and sounds with good memories and associating with good memories. That's what's so powerful about this program. So next time you see those guys wandering around, know that that's not just a VIP group, but that we're actually helping them heal.
Reed?
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service for Patricia. When you approach athletes and celebrities and say, and explain the program and say you'd be better off closing your personal foundation down and rolling money over into something that's more substantial and more efficient, what kind of reaction do you get to that? And for Kurt, are you sort of acting as an ambassador for this this program?
Well, they usually look at you kind of strange because it's an ego thing, you know, and people do start it for the right reasons, but they want to make sure that they're also still getting the credit. With us, you're still going to have the page. It looks exactly like your foundation page. You're still going to have it attached to your website, and I let them know absolutely nothing's going to change except you don't have to manage it anymore. You know, the money's not going to get wasted. We're still going to have the activities that you were still doing with us anyway, and you don't have to do any of the administrative work. You don't have to employ any other people to manage something kind of half done. We're going to do it to a great ability, and you're going to be part of a bigger cause. And actually now a lot of people are really excited about it because they thought it was, when you start adding it up, you know, Kurt had his foundation been up for 8 years. That's just $20,000 a year that he's wasted to the government for federal filings and state filings. That's not including your accounting fees and everything else to get your foundation returns in and other employees that you've had to have. So when they start to look at the money that's been lost, then it gets a lot of people excited. We have a lot of UFC fighters that we're about to get on board, so we'll be making some more announcements in the future.
You know, I gave it the old college try. 8 years was a good run, and the way that we were able to impact a lot of youth organizations and programs, I was proud. And when I got into different programs through the sponsors that I raced for, with Miller Lite, with Operation Homefront, with the Shell car we had PVA, Paralyzed Veterans of America. And then when I met with the AFF at Walter Reed Bethesda Medical Center, it showed me that there are different programs that can really impact the situation without less fat attached to it, and with different glory programs that are out there, such as a concert that you're putting on for hundreds of thousands, and then, well, what's the amount of cost that goes into that? It can swallow up a ton of money that should be going to our vets. And so to me, it's about operating more efficiently, and I think that's what I've received back from NASCAR and how they operate with this Troops to the Track program and what they do for our military. It's easy just to not piggyback, but just join forces with NASCAR and the AFF, who is the official military charity of NASCAR.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that with Kurt and Patricia is just the education, being involved in this. Patricia shared with me, PTSD. Not a lot of troops want to talk about that, right? These guys are warriors. These guys and gals are warriors, and it's tough to talk about. And I think I learned last week that there's not one medical school in the country that specializes or has a program in PTSD. So we're sending our soldiers who obviously come back and have trouble, and yet we don't have one medical school yet that's dedicating any services to this. So just getting that word out and starting to talk about it and starting for it to be okay to talk about, I think is really a benefit of what Patricia and Kurt have done. Tons of work to do here, but again, we're all excited to make that happen because it's the right thing to do.
Okay, your question for Tom Jensen, and we'll wrap it up.
Hi, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. This is for Patricia. Patricia, there's so many veterans groups out there that we see. How do you differentiate your group, and how do you explain to athletes why you're the one they should be associated with?
There's definitely some that have worked really hard at marketing themselves. We're not the group that puts our name on T-shirts and backpacks and gives it away. We actually give money, and we are where the rubber meets the road. That's why when people come to us, like Ron White and some of the comedians and Adam Richmond and the various chefs that work with us, they see what we do. They see we make a direct impact on people's lives, and they like the fact that they see we're making a difference, we're making a change. I want to tell you one quick story that actually has to do with NASCAR, and it kind of describes how we operate. It was Kentucky race weekend last year, and I got a tweet, and I'm tweeting constantly race updates for Kurt. And I saw this tweet come in that says, "Thank you very much for helping me out. You bring awareness to PTSD and nobody wants to talk about it." And I thought, something about this one just looks a little odd. So I direct messaged her and said, "What can I do to help you? Is everything okay?" And she said, "Actually, no. My husband's outside trying to commit suicide right now. I am locked in my bedroom with my 2 kids, and I just wanted to say thank you because you're the only person who gets it." And I'm, having a little bit of a corner. I'm on the pit box, and I really can't do anything. I said, "Give me your cell phone." I call one of my staff or text them and say, "Get on the phone with this lady right now. Let's see what we can do." And he was outside trying to get run over by a car. I mean, he'd been at his wit's end. And it turned out that he had lost his car that day to the mechanic shop because he couldn't pay the bill. And now he's not going to be able to get to work to feed his family. He is now at the end of his rope. And to me, that's a simple problem that we solve, and we solve it every day. Our foundation was able to pay to get that car out of Hawk. We were able to get a deal worked out with his job that he was going to be able to take a leave of absence for a couple of months. Our foundation paid for the bills to keep the family financially afloat. We sent out a Southwest Airlines ticket because they're one of our sponsors, overnighted, and had him on a plane literally that next day. When he received the ticket, he was in the airport that day coming to Walter Reed, and we put him in the hospital for treatment for a couple of months to get him back on track. And now that family's back in good shape again. That's how we're impacting lives, and that's why people want to be a part of us.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys stopping by this morning. Great way to kick off the day here at Phoenix International Raceway.